It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Reuben Kamp, all the way from Ithaca, New York, who I have the honor of. He's been my IT director for years. Big shout out to Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass is one of your clients too. Stephen Glass
good guy.
Is just a infamous townie that I could not have lived without for the last 20 years. But your company is called Darkhorse Tech. Why did you go with where does the name Darkhorse Tech? I would assume that you'd go with a Reuben sandwich that wouldn't everybody whether eat a Reuben sandwich?
Reuben sandwich IT company. Darkhorse is something, to be honest, I had to come up with a company name in about 4 days. I got my first legitimate, I was working for Benco at the time. I got my first real service agreement. And I had 4 days to come up with a legitimate company name because before then they were just writing checks to me personally. Darkhorse is something that I have always connected with as the underdog, chip on your shoulder, going to outwork you. And Darkhorse is me.
Nice. You know, most millennials, they think you're going to be a millionaire working Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. And if they're going to be a millionaire, that 9 to 5 means 95 hours a week for a decade without blinking. But I want to read your bio. Reuben has been drawn to IT since he wired his first dental office network at age 12. Now, that would have been because your dad, Ira Kamp, is a dentist.
Yes, he had.
So when you were 12, he was hiring child labor. Who was that girl on TV that got in trouble for that?
Oh, God.
Oh, who was that on the Today Show? Who was that girl? Kathy Lee Gifford. Her clothing line turned out it was made by child labor. So your dad, Ira, was using child labor in New York. So Kathy Lee, she could have been too bad.
So he was running SoftDent, same software that you run, and needed computers when he got that software. And instead of going the traditional route, he decided to hand it over to his son who, liked to screw around with computers a little too much. So that was the genesis of, it's kind of my first exposure to dental and IT being in the same realm. Before that, it was a lot of,
Now, when I got out of school back in the day, SoftDent was owned by Kodak. It was the biggest name. It was the dog. And Dentrix wouldn't come later until they launched Windows. Mm-hmm. Dentrix, the reason it's number one is because it followed the explosion of Microsoft. Right. So is your dad still on SoftDent?
He is not.
What did he switch to?
He's on Dentrix.
He switched to Dentrix.
He did.
And you're switching me to Open Dental.
I am switching you to Open Dental.
Yeah. And how smoothly will that go?
So far, so good.
Really?
Yeah. They're one of the best. They're kind of like us in Darkhorse. They're a smaller company. They take their time. They dot their I's and cross their T's. And they're just a really nice company to work for. When you get into, not to bash on Dentrix too much.
Please feel free. I'll do it for you if you won't.
But, it's that feeling that they're such a big company. You call and you just can't get anyone that can do anything worth a damn.
And you know why that is? I've seen it my whole life because you need to know it for stock investing. When the founding father sells the company, moves on or dies, that's usually as good as it gets. Like Sam Walton, his book was Made in America. Mm-hmm. It was all U.S. suppliers for all the Walmarts. He dies, and we could save 5 cents if we bought it all from China. I mean, and Steve Jobs, interesting deal. When Steve Jobs of the iPhone died, the first decision for the new guy, who was handpicked, was they said, well, should we retool our Chinese factories and go for the 6-inch big phone? And he said, no, I think that'd be too much money. Samsung did.
Yeah, Tim Cook's a supply chain guy. I mean, they promoted the guy in charge of making sure the parts line up and they get good deals. So you're right.
And he missed the large one, and then when he did that, I thought, are you out of your mind? And then some of my friends who are iPhone fanatics switched to Samsung, which they always badmouth droids their whole life and were Apple religious fanatics. And is the founder of Dentrix still work there? No.
No, God, no. And the culture must be.
They lose their bearing because once the founder is a hustler who takes risk. Mm-hmm. And then when that guy is gone, everyone else has got a really good job and they go into defense mode. They just don't want to lose their job. It's like the American Dental Association. Yeah. They're never going to get credit for doing anything right. But if they make a decision and everybody's wrong, they lose members. Right. So their whole mindset is don't piss off the herd. Don't do anything. Don't do anything shiny. So that founding father, whether it's a dental office or whatever, is the mojo. But
and Carestream went through a similar thing. We have a lot of exposure to Kodak and Carestream because it was based out of Rochester, New York. That's just a couple hours from us. So they have reps running all around New York State. There's still a lot of Carestream and Soft and Practice Works as well up there.
And who was the printer up there on Xerox? Mm-hmm. And we were talking about Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs tried to convince everyone he invented the Apple computer. And who invented it?
Yeah,
it was Xerox. Had an R&D deal in Parkway in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And every time they invented a user interface, a graphical interface, a mouse, all this stuff, they go back to Rochester and present it to the CEO of Xerox, and he'd say, well, what does this have to do with the copier?
Right.
And since nothing applied to a copier, that was the end of his vision. And so Steve Jobs was smoking pot with these guys and getting all this technology. He was a great marketer. He tried to convince everyone he was the inventor of this, to that. But, it was just Xerox didn't see.
Sales guys.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
So let me finish reading your bio. An Ithaca, New York native, Reuben was a pre-dental major at the University of Chapel Hill and worked while going to college in the Dental Residency Program. He graduated in 2009 with a Bachelors in Biology. After graduating, Reuben started working at Benco Dental as their lead tech for all of Upstate New York and began honing his skills on a variety of dental and medical software, hardware, and customer service skills. Recognizing the need for enhanced one-on-one customer service and support, Reuben founded Darkhorse Tech in March of 2012. After leaving Benco in January 2013, Reuben was able to focus on growing Darkhorse, specifically in the dental field with an eye on HIPAA compliance. Now Darkhorse Tech has 13 employees and clients in 10 states. Full disclosure, I'm his client. Reuben currently lives in Ithaca, New York with his wife Shannon and 3 rescue dogs, Sydney, Pepper, and Kobe. He enjoys cooking at home, brewing beer, and spending time outside during the summer months, either hiking, biking, or boating. And I want to say a shout out to Benco. Because Benco just is the opposite of what I just said about when the founding father dies, that's as good as it gets. So Benco was Ben Company,
right?
Benjamin Cohen Company,
right? Or
Benjamin Cohen? Was it Benjamin was the CEO for company or Cohen?
I
think it was Benjamin.
It's up for debate. It depends on what story you hear.
And then his son was Larry.
Yeah,
Cohen.
Yeah, Larry's a legend.
He's second generation, and the third generation are Rick and Chuck.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, those 3 guys have been mentors in my career. I mean, I cannot tell you how cool Chuck and Rick are, that sometimes, since I started Dental Town in 98, I come to a fork in the road about technology, the dental market, the industry. Yeah. I'll email Chuck, and he'll reply at 1 o'clock in the morning, or Rick will too, and they make a religion out of availability. I mean, when Dental Town was nothing to no one, and I don't even think they knew what it was in 98, they'd still, you go in the office, you can sit in the office with them for an hour, they tell you everything now. Right. Most humble, third generation family business I've ever seen.
It's a good point, because the second generation is usually where it falls off, and Larry was a legend. Absolutely 100% family run company that's not a marketing.
And are they going to get annihilated by Amazon?
Their profit margin is 90% from consumables. Yes. I think Dentrix Patterson and everyone you name it's going to feel that pressure.
I mean, my God, these dentists think, they're all afraid because a DSO, Heartland, opened up across the street. Heartland? How would you like to wake up tomorrow and find out that Jeff Bezos is coming after your ass?
Yeah, it's.
I mean,
you saw
moly.
Every single grocery company, their stocks go directly down after that Whole Foods purchase.
Oh yeah, 15-20%. Kroger, Safeway.
They are in trouble.
Yeah, and I think, and it's funny because so many things Jeff Bezos did, I thought, okay, he's just being hyped, pump and dump in his stock 4 or 5 years ago, and he says, yes, we're investing in drones. We're going to have drones deliver the package to your house. I said, oh, come on. Well, now, how stupid are you going to get?
But he's willing to...
And then 3 years later, my son comes home with a drone.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him like, damn, this thing could obviously deliver a package.
Yeah. But you got to give him credit. He tries things. Like, when you have scale like that, it allows you to experiment and find, gold.
I'll tell you, there's only two guys that Wall Street doesn't even care if they make a profit. I mean, Amazon basically has made almost no profit. I mean, I mean, stocks that are worth a tenth of that have made 100 times the net income profit dollars. Right. It's Tesla, it's Tesla and
Uber.
Amazon.
Yeah, Uber's up there right now.
Well, Uber, they just fired their CEO. Yeah. And I think that's going to come down to intellectual property. I think he might have stole some documents out of
really.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that story. They've had a very bad couple months.
Well, basically, when they wanted to have their driverless cars, they hired some bigwig from Google's driverless cars, and then Google kind of figured out, like, okay, did you take a lot of the work we did here over there? Because we think so. But if that's true, that makes HIPAA. So let's stay back on dental focus. I hate to get off too dental focus. Okay, so HIPAA. So here's the deal. 30 years when I get out, the new bad guy on the block was OSHA. And I'm sure we talked to your dad, Ira. OSHA came out and it scared the hell out of all of them. We were all going to get fined and sued and beat up and all that. And all the lectures were being OSHA compliant. And then came HIPAA, HIPAA, and for the international audience, first explain to the international audience, because half this show is in 220 countries that don't have HIPAA. So tell the international guys what HIPAA is, then why you're passionate about it, and why does it even matter?
To distill it down, it's essentially a patient's right to have their information protected. All right, so it defines that they have a right to have their privacy and their patient health information protected, and it also defines a set of rules that providers that collect that information have to follow to secure it. I mean, it's that.
But is
simple.
it kind of like so I lectured in Syracuse, which is pretty close to Ithaca, right?
Yeah, a couple of my clients sat in the front row.
Yeah,
they got heckled.
They got heckled, and Syracuse, I couldn't use Uber.
It will be here 2 weeks. Yeah,
so,
it just passed.
So basically, the point I'm making is I thought, okay, so your best idea in New York is to discount the new technology of Silicon Valley and try to protect a taxi driver. I mean, what if we would have protected the horse and buggy drivers and the carriage drivers? And HIPAA kind of reminds me, when you talk to talking heads on TV, I mean, didn't privacy kind of die? I mean, with the internet now, is there any privacy left? I mean, who doesn't know your name and address and phone number and birthday?
Right.
I mean,
right.
And I'll tell you something frightening for me is I had to do jury duty, and usually you just get out of jury duty, and if they call you, say, well, I'm a dentist and I'm kind of busy, and they're like, okay, this lady says, she says, well, Mr. Farran, have you ever had a vacation? I said, yeah. And she goes, well, you're on vacation now. You're taking a 3-week vacation. I thought, damn. But what I thought was amazing, I'd say, well, Reuben, did you ever talk to Ryan? And you said, no, I never talked to Ryan. And then they start playing all your audio calls and your texts and your emails. I mean, these calls were going back years and years and years. And what I saw in that trial, if you ever said it on a phone, texted on a phone, emailed it on a phone, it's out there somewhere. So HIPAA is kind of this, kind of like trying to save the taxi driver, because the privacy is pretty much gone on the internet.
Well, my main uneasiness with HIPAA is the amount that has been commercialized. I went to our it's a conference called Dental Integrators Association, or DIA. It's just IT companies that are focused on dental. And there were about 10 booths there. You got your appointment reminder companies, but half of them were HIPAA compliance, like as a service companies. Essentially, they wanted us to take a package, resell it to the dentist. So the industry is projecting this image that it is highly commercialized when it should not be.
I'd say the same about finance. I mean, Warren Buffett says that finance, I mean, you put money in the bank, they pay you 5% on your savings account, you loan out 10%, the bank makes a little spread. How did banking turn out to be 10, 12, 13% of the economy, all this bullshit and, all this crazy stuff? And so HIPAA, so you're saying HIPAA got overly commercialized.
It is my opinion. It is right now, it is over, and that is hurting the people that are trying to do good works. And like, you need to do a basic set of things to protect your network, but you don't need to go overboard. I mean, the law was written with a large institution in mind, a hospital institution. In dental, we need to fit it the best way possible, but some of the things, this might be a topic of contention.
What do you think actually started it? I actually thought it was at the time. The big new disease was HIV. I thought it was almost the privacy of your HIV.
HIV
status.
is a good thing to bring up, because when you think about a dental office, what critical or embarrassing information are you collecting? It pretty much comes down to health conditions and social security numbers. If you're versus, let's say, a plastic surgeon who might be collecting more embarrassing information.
Yeah. What is but how long would it take a hacker to find my social security number on the internet?
If you're a target, look, they can take down CIA, FBI website.
I'm actually more worried about the NSA and the CIA and the FBI hacking into me than any rogue government. But I think the dentists, the ones that are get in trouble the most, is the ones collecting credit cards.
Well, that's PCI, and there is a lot of PCI compliance is credit card,
because that is one thing we won't do. I don't want to have my credit card in your deal. I don't ever want us to call you up and say, "Hey, Reuben, my dental office just gave your credit card to a rogue group of people."
Yeah, some of the requirements do overlap. Firewall, antivirus software. You need to know what's on your network if you're storing.
So what would you say to dentists who's storing credit card information?
Switch services. The risk is not worth the convenience.
Same thing with IV sedation.
Yeah.
I think IV sedation is great, but the risk doesn't equal the reward. Say you put someone to sleep every Friday and pulled the wisdom teeth and placed them on every Friday for 40 years, and then had one person die. You'd wish you never became a dentist. I mean, and then you go into the hospital, an anesthesiologist has to do the anesthesia. A cardiovascular surgeon can't do the IV and the bypass. The only place you find that craziness is in dentistry. Don't do it. There are anesthesiologists, and
there are plenty of credit card processors where think about.
So how do you take a credit card without putting it in your practice management software?
Encryption. Essentially, all you're seeing is a series of randomly generated numbers. That information is being passed on to the credit card processor. So you're never actually storing the number itself. You're storing, a hash of it, essentially.
And who do you recommend for credit card processing?
I guess I can endorse BluePay. BluePay is good.
Will you send me that, Ryan? Are they in dental, or is it just
they're not in dental? They're just really good rates, and you just go onto a portal, and so nothing is stored on you're under a whole nother set of rules if you're storing things locally.
So what do they need to know about HIPAA? What would you say about it? Are lots of people I know that humans are really motivated by fear and greed. So they're always trying, if they find someone getting fined,
right?
They're trying to scare everybody. Oh, look at that guy that was fined. You need, But what should they know? What should they do with HIPAA?
That's what everyone else is trying to do, is selling out of fear. I try to sit down and educate everyone why I'm doing this. And that's why I have a tough time with the commercialization of the law itself. But what it distills down to is we need to know what, if anything, is running on your network. And this is going to also overlap into something that hits dentist wallets, which is downtime. So if you have something that can take down your server, we're crossing both into a HIPAA compliance issue, and we're also talking about maybe you can't take x-rays in your operatories. You can't take payments at the front desk. So there is a monetary hit to it. I mean, you should be at least aware of it and a little bit nervous. But there are some basic things you can do just to eliminate most of the pitfalls. And
you said something very funny. You're Reuben, but your sister's Rachel, and the difference between a Reuben sandwich and a Rachel sandwich is instead of corned beef, it's turkey?
Yep, that's the only difference.
The Rachel sandwich.
The Rachel sandwich.
How come Rachel Melee did not mention that when she was on the pancake? She was named after a sandwich.
Yeah, my parents have a really sick sense of humor.
Of her sandwich. So if my homies went to your website, Darkhorstetech.com.
That's correct.
What are they going to find, and what do you do? Why do you have clients in 10 states? What do you do?
We are a bunch of technicians that have left Benco, Shine, Patterson, kind of banded together. because we couldn't do the job we wanted to do. We couldn't take care of the client the way we wanted to. So we've taken, Shine wants to be like an all-inclusive approach, but you have to be on Dentrix and Dexis and be on their system. We say whatever platform you're running, like your office is a mixed environment. You have soft end, you have SUNY, and you have...
Tell me what I have. I have soft end.
You have soft end for your practice management software.
But by the time you hear this, 4th of July, we're switching to open, right?
Yes.
Okay, open dental. And then I have SUNY.
SUNY for your 2D intraoral imaging.
For 2D intraoral imaging.
And then you have CS imaging, with Carestream imaging, and that's for your 3D cone beam.
Carestream for the CBCT.
Yeah.
And
that's a nice machine.
Yeah, I have the Carestream CBCT. So explain them. So there's a difference between open systems and closed systems. Like Apple is a closed system, right?
Correct.
And then Microsoft is an open system.
Yes.
And it's not one's good and one's bad. There's just trade-offs.
Correct. I mean,
I believe, yeah.
Apple is more of a seamless experience. We don't have a lot of choices. Like I use Apple for a business phone. I can get done what needs to get done. There's no frills. It'll probably work, and I'm content with it. Microsoft gives you a lot more flexibility in product choices. You could write your own software if you wanted to. So,
which is what Open Dental does too. Open Dental.
All right. Yeah, they license their software as well.
Yeah.
So you'll see a different variants. Practice Web is a company out of California. It's Open Dental.
Practice Web is Open Dental?
Practice Web is Open Dental.
So did they just buy a copy of Open Dental and then start adding stuff?
You can go right on.
Did they have to license it from?
Correct. You license it. But they actually support their own product.
Ryan, send me Practice Web. Mm-hmm. So why did Practice Web break off from Open Dental? Were they ex-Open Dental employees or?
They didn't break off as much as they liked Open Dental as a core product. They started a completely different company, but they took the core product and built on top of it.
Okay, so now we have a lot of podcasters are millennials. Old guys like me read textbooks, go to conventions,
sure,
and have already bought our funeral plot. And they a lot of them are on Apple, and they want to get out of dental school and run on an Apple.
Right.
What if you have someone who's got an iPhone and an iPad and wants to run a dental office on Apple? Is that really a practical way to go? Or?
It is not. So you're going to limit the amount of choices you have in both practice management choice and in sensor. Right. So Dexis is one of the only sensors that run on Mac, and that's $10,000. Right, versus you have a lot of different options and, frankly, competition in the PC space. So if your software is not doing something you need it to do in order for your practice to function properly, on Mac there's not really any pressure to get that done because there's no other choice. And then the other thing about Mac is the hardware for what you get is you're just essentially spending twice the amount of money to get the same performance you could in a PC. If you want your patients to see just like a sign of, I've seen this in some ortho practices, they just want their patients to see like a sign of quality. They'll actually run a Mac, and then if you come around to the backside of the computer, they'll be running parallels running Windows 7 or Windows 10.
Is this true or false? If I open up the wrong attachment on my iPhone, that's very different than opening up on Outlook on my Dell computer, right?
Correct.
So if I open up a sketchy phishing ransomware on my iPhone,
it would be a good place to test out the link, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of any cases of ransomware, and would that be less likely to happen if you're running on Mac? Mac Practice. What is the Mac one called? Mac Practice. Mac Practice. Mark Hollis with Mac Practice. If we were working on Mac Practice, could we not get bugs and ransomware? And I mean, is it virus proof like that? Or?
No, it is not virus proof. That was kind of a misnomer back in the day. It was just, the thing is, if I am a Russian or Chinese virus coder.
You mean the NSA?
Or the NSA.
Yeah, the NSA.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the keys on how to do it.
Yeah.
If I am that, I look at how many computers are out there, and it's mostly dominated by Windows. So if I want to maximize my resource potential, I'm just going to write it for that. But there are plenty of variants for Mac as well.
And by the way, the one of the reasons I'm hard on my own government is because I don't think you're doing your government a favor when you say, oh, they're perfect. And I'll tell you what, I have lectured in 50 countries. I've lectured in 6 continents, and I have had so many dinners with so many 50, 60, 70-year-old very smart dentists who told me what our government has done in their countries. And usually it's almost never a happy story that ends and everybody lived happily ever after. No. It's like, I mean, go have dinner in Vietnam and Cambodia. Go to those places. And I mean, so and right now those a lot of those hacking tools were because they were made in the NSA, and then somebody in the NSA leaked them out.
Correct.
So a lot of this carnage comes from the United States of America.
The last big ransomware
attack. The 2008 meltdown came from just Manhattan.
Right.
I mean the entire world basically had to take a knee because of Manhattan. I mean, it wasn't Kansas that did that. It wasn't Ohio.
They packaged toxic mortgages, and that. What do you call that? Remember what they call the commodities that they made?
The toxic mortgages.
Yeah, the toxic. They put them in and that specific package took down the world.
And what was that movie that explained it?
Analyst,
The Big Short.
The Big Short. It was a great
and what
movie.
I liked about The Big Short was Hollywood is Hollywood, and it's usually Hollywood. But you notice everybody that I respect in the economic world congratulated The Big Short for saying, "My God, this is hard to explain to kids in B school."
Right.
And you crushed it on a movie, B to C. Right. Everyone gave him kudos for that.
I think that's one of the biggest signs of intelligence is being able to distill something that complicated down into. I mean, my favorite part was.
And they were at the casino table. That was the best part when they were explaining all at a casino table.
I liked Anthony Bourdain with the old seafood, talking about how to make seafood stew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a cool dude. Okay, so then back to your website. So again, I'm sorry, we keep getting off. What are they going to find on your website, and what do you do? And this Dentistry Uncensored, what does it cost? I mean, what would you be in charge of at a dental office, and how do you do that if he's in Nevada, Missouri, and you're in Ithaca, New York?
So we offer what's called a managed services agreement. We manage it. We call it the single point of accountability, because what I was hearing feedback back when I was thinking about starting the company was that there's just too many pieces moving around. We just want one person to be in charge of it, be responsible, and if we need an issue, there's just one person we call, not 3 different vendors. So our plan was formulated with that in mind, where you can just rest easy at night. We're going to take care of your backups, your antivirus software, your HIPAA compliance, but also if you have an issue with Dextrous, SoftDent, EqualSoft, and then on the imaging side, we see it all, and what we're offering is the whole thing managed in one. So when your staff picks up the phone, they're just calling one person. All right. We don't want them to pick up the phone and call SoftDent if it's a complicated issue. That's just a waste of money. Let our remote support technicians do that.
Okay. So I know what my homies are thinking. They're thinking, okay, so the cloud means that instead of my server, it's your server. And the cloud is really just the internet.
Yeah, so like Dentrix would store all your information.
So what's the pro and con of this dentist having his Open Dental on his server in his dental office, as opposed to a server at your office in Ithaca, which would be the cloud?
Sure. So we only have a couple environments that are cloud-based. The reasons, there's only a couple reasons that cloud is a major advantage. And right now, the questions are, do you see the same patients in multiple locations? I mean, that's what it really boils down to. Because do
you see the same patients in multiple locations?
Right.
Who does that? Just the guys that have more than one location?
So we work for a couple groups where like one office will have a CBCT cone beam machine, and that's like kind of like their oral surgery location. So they'll have patients going back and forth, and then they'll have maybe an ortho location, a pedo location. So they'll have patients going around. So having that patient's record available everywhere is worth more than the speed reduction, because when you have a server that's 10 feet away from your computer, you're operating at the fastest possible speed you can. Also, if your internet goes down, you can still see patients and take x-rays and do everything. And then it's about comfort level. Do you feel comfortable with Dentrix, as these big organizations, owning your information? If you wanted to switch, now you have to worry about getting the information back from them, and it's
funny how we were talking about The Big Short and how those Wall Street brokerage firms that do the high-speed computer trading,
yes,
the most valuable real estate is right by the trading, where they want all their servers, because if my trade comes in 1/1000th of a second before yours, I got the trade and you didn't, and they those servers are on that block.
Right. And then obviously you're paying recurring cost up to that provider to store that information for you. It's frankly cheaper to have a server on site.
Yeah. Another question I want to ask you. I don't know. Some people, they really want to measure their incoming calls, because everyone that studies this stuff knows that like 3 people call your office and are thinking about coming to you, but your receptionist can only convert 1. So when they're going to these phone systems, a lot of people start thinking, well, you know what? If I switch from cable phone, or Cox phone, or what do you have? Cable, Time Warner,
Spectrum now.
Time Warner, is this called Spectrum now?
Yeah.
But some of them are switching these VoIP, these voice over internet protocol.
Yeah.
And then some people say, man, it's just the greatest thing. Then other people are saying, dude, it actually goes down 3 or 4 or 5 minutes 5 times a day. Yeah. What is that? Does that depend on what's your general thought on VoIP? And would you trust it in the United States of America to turn your phone over to VoIP?
I do. We use it internally. We have several dental offices that use it. It's tricky. If you don't have someone that knows, like if you just have like a run-of-the-mill, let's say your IT guy's your patient, he comes in once in a while. If you don't set up your network correctly, it will start blocking traffic. And what you're referring to is like an office will pick up the phone, they can hear the patient, but the patient can't hear them. Is a utility worth the reward? Is being able to record all the phone calls, educate your staff on how to be better on the phone? And then there are some programs out there like Weave that integrate directly with a program like SoftDent or Dexis that can give your staff a snapshot, or just a really quick portal of what to bring up when they're on the phone, so they can be the most effective. Whether it's they have an outstanding treatment plan, they're overdue for the recall appointment, and then it will show let's say their birthday is tomorrow, so you can be a little more personable on the phone. And
where's Weave located?
Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and where is Utah? They had Silicon Valley, now they call it the Silicon Slopes. Right. So where's Dentrix?
Dentrix is out there too.
Yeah, and where's Weave?
Well, yeah, they're.
Yeah, and what does it say about Dentrix when they're missing the market? Has popped up several companies around them.
Correct.
None of those companies should have existed.
Right.
Dentrix should have done all that for you.
Well, then you think about appointment reminder companies, texting companies. You have Legwork,
so when people
Lighthouse.
say, "Dude, you're hard on Dentrix and Ingersoll," dude.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a Silicon Valley of companies that have propped up just in all the areas of these, and the reason it makes me so mad is because this leads to, when a dentist doesn't know their costs and they're losing money, it hurts their family, it hurts their health. There's a lot of really stressed out dentists because they don't know why they're working so hard, not making any money, because no one will hook up the software to accounting.
Right.
So back to the dentists are asking. In fact, I wanted you. I was so glad you were coming over today, because my column this month, no one's answering this guy's question on my column. So the column was, I was comparing the difference between how crazy drive-through is to how crazy dentistry is. You go to the drive-through and the person can't see you. And they're like, order please. And you're like, okay, I'd like a Big Mac. And they're like, okay, I have a Big Mac. Anything else? Because they can't see there's 4 people in the car.
Right.
And then so they keep, every time you order another deal, they start repeating the order, because their best idea was they couldn't see you.
Right.
And then when you go to the window to pay, you think that's very important.
Right.
Well, she's taking your money. She's taking you to the next order.
The next one.
And it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure you just gave me $3 more. So why do you, and then you think that's all silly and they're crazy. Then you go across the street to In-N-Out, and they send a human out
Right.
And she's got an iPad, and she can see into the car.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And she can see you talking, and it's like in and out. It's twice as smart a system.
Yeah.
Then you call up a dental office, and 50% go to voicemail. If they do answer, it's, can you please hold? And it's like, how may I help you? They don't even know who you are. It doesn't, okay, with Dentrix, it doesn't pull up the screen automatically. But anyway, the guy on my deal said, and I'm hoping you log in and answer. He's saying, how is everyone measuring their incoming call conversion rate? How are they measuring? But would you mind going in there and opining on that?
Their conversion rate. So while you have that patient in the sweet spot, are you?
No. What technology do they have available right now to know when this call comes in that they're either in your practice management system and existing patients, which on your marketing should be existing patients call this number, new patients call this number.
Right.
But how can they? You said Weave. What is Weave the only one? What technologies would and would they all be VoIP?
They should be. They should. Otherwise, you're going to have a box on premise, and that's just something else to really manage the.
Okay, explain that because most of us know root canals, not VoIP.
Okay, so VoIP, there are two flavors. There's one where you have it. Yeah.
Reuben and Rachel.
Thanks. Yeah. How about mint and bubblegum?
Mint and bubblegum.
Yeah.
I like that.
So either you have a box on site, and that's where everything is being stored and managed, or you just log into a portal and you look and you see 8 to 5 call volume. The conversion rate, that is going to require some sort of manual recording, right? Because you have to say.
SoftEnd? I mean, would SoftEnd know that these are?
These
are all the strange phone numbers that called, and these are the ones that actually schedule an appointment, so you can get that metric, that dashboard.
Yeah, Weave will absolutely do that because if that
Ryan, can you send me Weave? Go ahead.
And Weave's gotten a lot better. They added an East Coast server, which has stabilized a lot of our clients. There were some, I don't know if
Didn't they raise a major round of funding or something? Aren't they like going?
Yeah. They're pretty easy to use. Now you're talking price. You're talking about another on top of what you're already doing, $2.99 to $3.99, depending. They also have like Google reviews on top of that. But what happens is the call rings in, and since it's attached to your system, it searches for that in Dentrix and pulls up the information right there. So there's no click manual thing; it just pops up for you.
Now, what if the dentist wanted to record?
It's automatically recorded.
Yeah, and see, so when I've been stealing ideas from the S&P 500 my whole life. That's when you in a little cottage industry, and by definition, cottage industry is not one player has 1% of the market, whereas in like autos, it's like like 12 people have the whole global market. In like food, I think there's only 10 companies produce 80% of all the food at all the grocery stores. Like Nestle and all those, and. In dentistry, if I call any major companies, what percent of the S&P 500 companies start off says, this call may be recorded
every single
for
one
training purposes. Yeah. And then when you start, and the first people to identify in dentistry was the Scheduling Institute out of Atlanta.
Yes.
Those guys said, man, your dentist got 8 years of college, your hygienist got 4, your assistant went for a year, and you just hired a girl off the street. She doesn't close any of these calls, and that's why the Scheduling Institute has been a major company and still exploding. They just opened a location in Phoenix.
They did.
Yeah, so now they got the Atlanta.
Yeah, a client of mine, shout out to Dr. Metz, he won Jay's Lamborghini.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is Weave the only one? Is there any other ones that do all
There
this
are
stuff?
some lesser known ones out there. We don't like to endorse anything until we have enough of a client base and enough dentists that want to be like just on the edge of modern technology that they'll be our what's called like beta testers.
We call them guinea pigs.
Yeah, same thing. So those are the guys that are willing to put up with being on the beta versions of things,
which is the bleeding edge instead of the leading edge.
Right. So if you're on the beta version of like say CEREC, you're in a whole different world.
Yeah, and by the way, so I'm 54, so the only people that are on the bleeding edge are going to be millennials under 30, and what's going to happen is like when I got out of school, the smartest cosmetic dentists were saying do Dicor crowns and cement them with Duralon. I went to courses and paid money for that knowledge, and of the 1,000 I did, guess how many of them had to have broke and had to be replaced for free? All of of them. All of them. And then I tried the new Targus Vectrus from Ivoclar, and guess what percent of the time the Targus came off the Vectrus?
Yeah.
All the time. And then there was Art Glass from Gray's Culture. So I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You think it's all fun and games, but if you're gonna practice in Sholo, Arizona your whole life, and you try something new and it all fails, you're gonna redo all of it for free, and they're not gonna be happy. And by the time you're 40, you say, let the little kids try that bullshit. Like one of the things I really want to try is when you extract a tooth, Megagen out of Korea has a pulverizer. Like what was that movie? And Fargo, where the last scene they throw the lady in the wood chipper. So instead of bone grafting and all this stuff, you just throw the tooth in there, pulverize it, increase so you got all this bone packing deal. Yeah. That sounds awesome. But no one's ever bone grafted with enamel, dentin, bacteria, fungi, virus, parasites. It's like, I'm not going to try that.
No.
But I hope all the frickin' 30-years go try the shit out of it.
And write about it on Dental Town.
And then, it'll take 5 years.
It
will take 5 years on these new crowns, these new everything. Maybe not 5, but so you're saying... so that's the bleeding edge versus the leading edge.
Right.
So as far as leading edge, you'd say weave?
Yeah, I really like
and
weave.
And the rest, would you say bleeding edge? Or just, no, you haven't had enough experience to know?
Second one, the latter. Yeah.
So weave's a dominant horse?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're a well-funded, serious as a heart attack company.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you give your blessing to VoIP?
I give with the caveat of being... if your IT company is the real deal, because it can go sideways really quickly.
Okay, because I want to show you. I'm not gonna throw you under a bus here, but if I do a search, and I want everybody to do a search on Dental Town, because that damn search bar cost me $50,000.
I remember talking to Ken about that.
It's look how many threads are talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Have you weighed in on any of those?
Yes. Because I follow all the computer hardware maintenance, all those.
So it's a big topic.
It is.
It's a huge topic. And I always wondered this. This is what I always wondered. It seems unlikely that internet service would be the same for every American.
Right.
I mean, can internet really be the same in Anchorage, Alaska as it is in Manhattan?
So then there's three you could do DSL, which is phone line based. Don't even think about voice over IP.
DSL.
Right, that's your phone line internet. Then you have broadband, and broadband is the most of us.
Can you say what DSL is again?
DSL, it goes over your phone line.
Broadband is
broadband is coax, is what most of us have in our homes.
So that's your
Time
cable
Warner, your Cox. Then the third layer is fiber. Okay, and fiber is guaranteed speeds. Broadband, you're on a share, like everyone on this house. Let's say they're all on Cox. They're all pulling off the same line. Fiber, if you're paying for 100 by 100, that's what you're getting.
Did you tell Ken about that with Dental Town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday.
Yeah. What is Dental Town on?
Fiber.
It's on fiber?
Yeah.
My house, could it be on fiber? I'm on Cox.
Yeah, you could be. I mean, the price is going to be... I mean, Cox might have a fiber offering as well. You can. We work with a couple of companies that do surveys.
Well, next time you talk to Ken, tell him that because when we do these podcasts, they look seamless because Ryan is so damn good editing. But the bottom line is, what percent of the time on a Skype call is the call dropped?
So
3 or 4 times a show. I want to ask you a forward-looking question that you have no idea how to answer, but you're so damn smart you might know.
Fantastic.
Microsoft bought Skype for $8.9 billion years back, and now they just bought LinkedIn.
Correct.
So in my little walnut brain, I'm sitting there thinking, so will LinkedIn turn into an Apple iPhone FaceTime? Do you think around the corner, if I follow you on LinkedIn, since now it's owned by Microsoft, which owns Skype, when I see the picture of your face, I'll just push it and be talking to you on a call, or is Microsoft...
If you own a Windows phone.
Really?
I mean, so is your intention you're on LinkedIn and there's a button next to my face and you want to call me?
Where you have the phone.
Right.
Where you have the phone number, I think I should be able to push it and either call on my phone plan on my deal, but... If you own Skype,
you can do that right now.
Because if you and I both have an iPhone,
yes,
I can call you,
right,
or I can FaceTime you.
Correct.
So that's my question on LinkedIn. Right. Well, do you think in the future it'll be like, oh, I'm connected with Howard on LinkedIn, so there's this
landline
cell phone number, and there's a FaceTime number.
You want your phone number published to all your followers?
Yeah, I'm. We were talking about the other day. I'm coming to the point where I need to get a new number. Last time I called Rick Workman, the CEO of Heartland. His number had been disconnected, so I emailed him. He said, "Oh, I got a new phone." And I'm so dumb. I've given out my card at every seminar I've ever gone to.
It's got your personal phone number.
And people don't abuse it. They only call when, and almost every time I've ever got the phone, usually my boys agree. It's like, that's cool that you talk to that guy because he really needs something.
That's good. I do the same thing. I give out my personal. I only have one.
Well, I got yours off the bathroom wall, actually, at Circle K. Is that the same number?
Do they sell Reuben sandwiches?
Where they sell, when I was buying my Reuben sandwich.
But, sorry, to finish the point on the internet, so if phone systems are when they're delivered over the internet, they're very finicky to the quality of internet. So broadband, I was saying before, it's a shared pool. So if you have someone that's using a lot of data, your connection is going to go down. So if that connection is going like this, so is your phone call, right? So it's highly recommended that if you are a business running voice over IP, you get fiber, because fiber is a simultaneous up and down, and the speed does not change.
Okay, so I got to tell you, my darkest hour in IT, 20 years ago, the computer crashed. And we were backing it up. We were supposed to back it up to I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think we were supposed to back it up to the C drive, and somebody was backing up to the D drive. So, and long story short, in 1 minute, we lost everything. And when you load back in all your deal and all your data, I mean, it was a complete unbelievable nightmare. And guess what percent of the people that were in our account receivables called us up and said, "Hey, I quit getting statements from you. Reuben, do I owe you money?" What percent of my patients do you think made that phone call? No one.
No.
So all the over 30, 60, 90 was gone. But anyway, so what does my homie have to know about backups, which is another reason I'd rather have my server in your office and you doing the backups on the cloud. But I mean, I know no one does that, but
it's easy enough to do on site. So backups has changed from just backups to BDR, which is backup and disaster recovery, because the disaster recovery is when the phone call comes in. Right. So the first layer, you start with doing what we do is a nightly cloud backup. So everything is out of the building, flood, fire.
So you
whatever.
do that. So you do that today's tunnel.
Yeah. So this is what we do for you. And then on top of that, we do an hourly image backup. So if you get some sort of catastrophic event at, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're not losing that entire day of production.
So you back up mine every hour?
Every single hour.
Huh.
Every single hour. And then on top of that, we have a failover server. Okay? So that failover server, your practice is big enough where this is, we're talking, your most downtime would be about an hour at this point if your server went completely kaput. We would be able to virtualize that and fail it over to another server.
And I know you don't want to offend anyone because you want to, no one wants to piss off their value chain, but what if she was 25 years old and she's going to go start up a de novo practice in Nevada, Missouri, and she said, "What practice management system would you use?"
Open Dental.
Yeah.
EagleSoft number 2. I really do not have any allegiance.
And EagleSoft is Patterson, and they just let their CEO go.
I know. Well, I really don't have any allegiance.
After 6 years, and I think that has more to do with the Amazon all coming down the deal.
They were sniffing around Patterson.
Well, I'll tell you, sniffing around buying them?
Yes.
Really? So you know that? How do you know that?
They were at the dental show talking with Patterson. I mean, I just have...
You mean with the Greater New York?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know if you don't know that because you probably not in the dental supply business, but Amazon had a booth at the Greater New York meeting, and that was the showstopper. That was the conversation at every dinner.
Right.
Was, oh my God, why is Amazon here? Okay, so let's...
just to clarify on the practice management software, in any product, the way our company looks at it, we're only really loyal to the products that serve our customers the best. I don't have anything that ties me to one or the other, except for our people enjoying their experience with it.
Okay, here's another question. It's an unfair question because I'm sure it's fair. It's so many details.
Bring it on.
It seems like a lot of times you're with people my age, and so their iPhone's not working right or it froze, whatever. And the first thing they start thinking is, this thing's like 2 years old or 3 years old.
Right.
Maybe I should get a new one. A lot of times I'm talking to my dentist friends. They're like, I don't know why it takes so long to pull it up, but you know what? I can't even remember when I bought that computer. Right. How do you know when you need a new upgrade your computers at your office? How do you know it's the computer versus some other variable? How do you know when your computer sucks?
Well, the first piece is you should probably be asking somebody that knows about what your whole system. Like, so if your system is a CBCT machine and the requirements are calling for more power, then we might need to upgrade those computers. Now,
so your IT guy should know all that.
Your IT guy should have, let's say your scenario, should have the specs for the latest version of Carestream, SoftEnd, and have the latest version of SUNY, and then say, okay, does
my team do that?
Yes.
Or know that?
Yes.
And that was one of the things that Ken liked about buying all of our computers over Dell, is because you can always go to your Dell account and see every machine you bought, so you know the date, the RAM, all the specs on it.
And the other thing is buy a warranty for as long as you're going to own the computer. Don't buy a computer with just a couple years on it, right? If we like to see workstations 5 to 6 years. That's about the window that we like to see. It kind of goes, hardware failure goes on like a bathtub curve, where at the beginning there's a burn-in period, and that's when stuff can go wrong, and then after about 4 into 5 years, that's when we see hardware failures again. But that middle period, we're not seeing much.
So you'd say one rule of thumb is that your stuff works 5 years.
Yeah.
And the second rule of thumb is make sure your specs.
Make sure you have a warranty for 5 years.
Make sure you have a warranty 5 years, probably only last 5 years, and make sure that you have the the RAM processor speed matching your CBCT.
Right. And solid state hard drives have completely changed the game. They're extending lives of computers right now. So if your computers are underperforming, it really might just need a hardware upgrade, because the speeds of the hard drives from a spinning disk with a needle to going to flash memory have been.
And when did that change over?
It's been affordable for about 3 years.
Do I have that, or what do I have? Do I still have the spinning disk?
You have most computers still through Ken. Again, they're performing fine. I would not
through Ken.
Through Ken, you buy them through.
You mean Dell?
Yeah, you buy them. Well, yeah, Ken gets them through Dell. I mean, our standard.
But mine are still the spinning disc with a needle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a major difference, but at the same time, I'm not just going to willy nilly replace your hardware if you don't.
Can I tell you the funniest IT story on the planet?
Sure. So
I got out of school in '87. This computer guy comes up and he's setting me up, and we started with SoftEnd, and Intel had just came out with. Anyway, everybody was using the 286. Do you remember the 286?
It's before my time.
Yeah, and he said to me, he said, "You know what? They just came out with a 386, and I'm telling you, it costs more money. But if you bought that 386." You'd never have to upgrade your computer the rest of your life. That thing has more horsepower, everybody was like, yeah, we want to go the Intel 386.
That's a good sales pitch.
No, he believed it. He believed it. I mean, we were all drinking the Kool-Aid back then.
Yeah.
Remember when the Pentium came out?
Yeah.
That was like going to run, I mean, that was like the end-all of computers. I mean, it was the Pentium. They didn't even name it the 586. Because they had the 286, 386, 486. They didn't even go to the 586. They're like, this is it, dude. This is it. We've arrived. We're in computer heaven. It's the Pentium. And then 2 years later, they're like, okay, we need. Oops. Yeah. So they stopped naming the 5. They didn't call that 586. Okay.
Well, the good news for dentists is that hardware is coming down in price. So the initial investment's really not what it once was. Computer hardware is pretty inexpensive these days.
You talk about using technology to enhance treatment plan presentation and acceptance. What does that mean to you? How can technology?
Well, this ties back to the millennial. Like what we want to see. I'm 30, so I'm in that millennial category. We want to see technology, even in dental, in medical. So, you have that CBCT machine in your office. What we want to see is our skulls spinning around. We want to be wowed by the CEREC machine. We want to see technology being used for our healthcare. For us, it is a sign of quality. So when it doesn't matter what the dermatologist. When I see a provider that is investing in their practice, that is using technology, it shows a sign of quality.
Yeah, just like dentists will be spore testing their autoclave every week and have statum trays and things. Sterilization is great, but they don't use a cleaning service, and the patients are out there seeing dust on the baseboard and say, this place is filthy.
Right.
So perception is reality, and you have a cleaning crew that's not, you don't pay your dental assistant extra coin to stay late and empty the trash and all that. You need a crew that comes in, that's all they do.
Right. You also don't want to burn
quality,
around.
You're right, when you pull out an intro camera, when you have a digital x-ray. Also, these old guys that are selling their practice, I mean, they're talking on Dental Town. Well, I got 3 choices, but one guy, he doesn't even have a website and he doesn't have digital x-ray, so they're not even going to look at the offer.
Right.
They're not even going to, nothing.
There's been a couple offices in Ithaca where the guy just closed his doors and put an ad in the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more common than you think that doctors are not digital, and they're like, I got 3 years left, and they're just not going to do it.
What? And that's also a for the millennials. That's a huge mental error in diagnosing that I did all the time. Yeah. I'm down here in Phoenix, which is a lot of retirees, and these 90-year-old men come out, and I was always passing on because I'm like, this guy's going to be dead by Tuesday. I mean, he's got 4 liver spots. He's 90 years old. He's deaf. And there they are 10 years later. They're still alive.
Right.
I mean, I call, humans are as tenacious as a cockroach and a termite and an army ant. And don't ever misdiagnose the pocketbook, because she might even be a waitress at the Waffle House, but she might value her smile more than a car, a boat, or a trip to Disneyland. Yeah. And don't misdiagnose that old fart's going to die, because God dang, those humans are... I mean, even when they come in and they say, I've got cancer, I've got this, I'm on 9 medications, he's like 88, and you're like, well, I don't think we should do it. I think we'll just watch everything.
Yeah. Well, people have a purpose. It lasts a long time.
Oh, yeah. So, I think the biggest joke in the world is when people say they're going paperless. I mean, you'll say, are you paperless? Yeah. And I'll say, well, what is that in your hand? Oh, I'm putting a sticky note on the doctor telling him his wife's on line 3. What is this? Oh, this is for the team huddle. We pass it. Right. So going paperless is 50 shades of gray. I've yet to see an office that doesn't have any pieces of paper. But what is the percent of dentists on digital x-rays? What are the percent of dentists who would you consider? What is your definition of paperless?
My definition of paperless might be different from yours. Right, I think paper can be used.
Chartless. Chartless would be a better term.
Well, as long as if you're getting a piece of paper and it's getting scanned into the system and then shredded, I would still consider that paper. If someone's handing you a piece of paper,
would the better definition just be chartless? I mean, that's. I mean, if I want to know if you're paperless, I want to know, are you still using charts?
Right.
Are you chartless? I like chart or chartless.
Yeah.
Because they're still. I mean, even little things like the schedule. They're taping the schedule on the wall.
I would say percentage-wise, 85%, 90% have charts, physical charts in the office. 90%
of dentists still have charts in the office.
Yes.
And do you think that's cheaper, lower cost, higher quality, or do you think
no? I've trained dentists. Like Dentrix has a really good template system for the chart, and I've sat down with dentists and say, these are the 19 things we do every single time we do a filling. Right now, you're just, instead of writing a note, you're just going click, 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 click through the prompts, and it's generating the note for you. So it is a time savings, and then you just digitally sign it, and it locks.
I went chartless.
What?
It was 1999, and I'd opened in 87, 99, 12 years. I got them really long phone cords so that when they're talking to, when Reuben Kamp calls up and he's telling me about a filling, you need to see the chart.
Yes.
Well, so then it was, I can't reach it. Well, then it was like, well, let's get 13-foot phone cords so you can reach it. Then it was like, then I went headless deals. Yeah. But anyway, the bottom line is, this person had come in, and I started talking to him. And he called up, I'm asking him, how's the tooth been? He goes, well, I had to call back and refill my pain meds. And I'm like, well, that's not on the chart. Or he said, well, I was concerned. The temporary fell off, and, so I called the front desk. I'm like, well, that's not. So I kept calling and calling and calling. And then I realized one day, I woke up in bed and I thought, you know how I'll get him to pull the chart? I'll take the freaking chart away.
Yeah.
So I got rid of the chart just so my team, they'd have to pull up the computer.
Right.
Because there isn't a chart.
And it's easier.
Do you think it's easier and faster?
I think so.
We always had almost a half full-time employee who just walked around all day saying, hey, do you know where Reuben's chart is? Did you take a chart? And what used to concern me is they'd always ask me if I took the chart home. And it's like, okay, I've never taken a chart home. We go through this 3 times a week for years and years and years. I've never put one in my car. And but there was always a lost.
It's in the Dr. Farran to be filled out pile.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we always had a girl from high school. It was actually Marcy and her sister. They'd come after high school. They get out at 3, and their job was to pull all the charts for the next day, and then to refile all the charts that we had. And every time they filed the chart wrong, it was lost in a pile of like 8,000 charts. So and you say 80% of the dentists still have a chart.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that are 50 and above, and it's just their comfort level with it, and there is no motivating factor for them to do it.
And it's also it would have been the greatest thing. I still think the number one problem in the American healthcare system is everybody's got all their information in different pharmacies, different doctors, whatever.
Agreed.
And then your mom passes out at the grocery store, and the ambulance gets there. Don't know who she is, don't know what med she's on.
Right.
So then you take them to the emergency room. So they're just reduplicating every test. Right. And then some of the greatest people in the world die because the Grateful Dead, what is it, Garcia?
Yeah,
Jerry Garcia. They didn't even know he was an insulin-dependent diabetic.
Right.
And I mean, the Grateful Dead would still be on tour if all that information was digital on a chart, and the emergency room could have just said, "Oh,
that would make my dad very
he's a
happy.
Grateful Dead alcoholic who's insulin-dependent diabetic." Interesting.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Epstein, whose dental office, Grateful Dentistry, is completely themed by the dead.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh my God, dude, that'd be a great feature story for Dental Town.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
You got his email?
Yeah. Phil
email
Epstein.
him, email me. That is hilarious. Yeah. There's a guy out here in Tempe, Dr. Cook, who's got guitars all over his deal. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why Americans are so against having, and they're going the wrong way with HIPAA. They're making it even more difficult for the ambulance guy to figure out what's going on.
Just spitballing here, but let's try to solve the problem, right? Let's say, what if there was a piece of technology that allowed everything to be stored on our phones? Because how many times are we without our phones? Right? Never. So if something does happen to us, there's like a medical, you can swipe up and go to the control center, you can swipe over to go to the camera. What if there's a gesture you had to be able to access that medical record? And since we all have our phones, that seems like the best way to tackle the problem, right? What else are we without?
This was actually, I called this special. When Jobs stuck the internet in the cell phone, what was that, 2008?
When he put the
iPhone? The iPhone. When it was the smartphone.
7, because this will be the 10th anniversary.
Okay, I knew it was different in 2007 because everything else that ever came out, purses, shoes, whatever, people go to their car and they'd leave.
Right.
This is the first thing that if you got in the car with your 4 kids, you're like, "Oh, I forgot my phone," and it was the first artificial intelligence. It was an extension of their body. This had their phones, their data, their knowledge. So for this to start going into little chips to augmenting that, I mean, you're around the corner.
It's a natural. I mean, it's the only thing that my wife, if we leave it at the house, will make me literally turn around and go get it. So,
and I completely believe that the only purpose, I completely lose, I'm not nuts. I completely believe that the only thing Homo sapien will be remembered for was the bridge from biology to the machines. And as soon as this has a opposable thumb and walking around, they'll obviously be smarter than us. And even if they let us live here on Earth, we can't be thrown across the universe on a billion-year journey, but a droid can. And right now, the only thing you have on Mars and Venus and everything is all droids. So we were just the connection between biology and droids.
And the technology leaders will say right now that artificial intelligence is the biggest threat to mankind. I mean, it's not a movie anymore, right? You're
never going to compete at the rate this thing is growing. Like I remember them saying right now that the iPhone has more computer power than the Apollo astronauts had when they landed on there.
By far.
Yeah.
We're talking, what, 1968?
Yeah, so scale that out another 1,000 years. You'll still be a talking monkey with clothes on, and that thing will be 1,000 times more powerful. So you'll look at where am I going to move my chess piece, and they'll go through every random possibility.
Right.
How do you compete with that?
Yeah, well,
and you live in a very narrow window of biology. You got a temperature, oxygen. Those guys, you'll shut down the droid and they'll throw it through deep space at 5 degrees above absolute zero, then fire it up a million years from now on the other end. So we can't do any of that stuff.
No. It kind of dawned on me as it was watching some sort of congressional proceeding, and the congressman's assistant was right behind him, right? And he was asked a question, and then the assistant leaned in and whispered to the back of the ear. And I think that is going to be the first neural implant purpose, is essentially that person won't need to exist, because this little computer in your brain is going to be...
Yeah, and see, I don't need that, because I have 4 kids that always...
Hey, back to child labor.
You got a wife.
I do.
You have a wife, so you're self-directed. But yeah, it would be really nice to have a little earpiece and say, hey, we got that meeting next week, Tuesday at 10, and your augmented reality says, actually the meeting's at 10:30.
Yeah.
Or you're saying, 5 years ago, I met you at New Orleans. No, it was 4 years ago, and it was in Austin, Texas.
And it knows that because LinkedIn was tracking your GPS location. And
yeah, but I think you're amazing. I wish you would you mind answering that on that thread today?
The voice over IP?
Well, they're asking on my monthly column, how do you use technology to measure incoming calls?
Yeah, I'd be happy to shed some light on that.
Can you shed some light on that? And I just think that's the future. So get Open Dental.
Yeah, just
get
like
a good IT company. So how do they get a hold of you again if they want to use you for IT?
So
Darkhorse Tech.
Darkhorsетech.com. My email address is either admin@darkhorsetech, or if you can spell my name correctly, Reuben@darkhorsetech.com. Again, like Howard said, it's like
Reuben. Reuben. If you have not eaten a Reuben sandwich, you're not a friend of mine.
Yeah. And shout out to our newest member who just joined our team, Julie Varney, who's a prominent member in the dental community. She is bringing training and coaching to our suite of services. So,
and where's she out of?
She's out of Syracuse, New York.
Well, you know what? You have her podcast me, and I want to. You have her Skype me.
Sure.
But I also want to Skype your dad and tell your dad that I got 4 sons and he's got big congratulations to his son. Seriously, but your dad is a pioneer, and he is what would you call a holistic dentist?
Yeah.
And I want to podcast your dad. You know why? Because whenever you say to my homies that you're a holistic dentist or you're alternative, it's just quack. He's the tinfoil on your head. You're a nut job. But when I watch my homies, they're totally holistic. If a dentist goes to the doctor and they say, you're pre-diabetic, here's an oral hypoglycemic, you got ED, here's a boner pill, you got high blood pressure, the dentist, I don't want to get into polypharmacia. I'm going to go home and lose weight and start exercising. Dentists are the most anti-polypharmacia. Polypharmacia means when as soon as you're on 5 daily prescriptions, whether over the counter or not. Like some people say, well, I only take 1 prescription pill.
Right.
But they take 5 things from, they take QC10 or zinc or, but once you start taking 5 things, because this has a side effect.
Right.
This has a side effect. No one's ever tested the side effects when you combine them.
Right.
And then you add a third. And every one of these 5 has a side effect.
You're making your own cocktail.
And they say by the time you're taking 5 daily things, like even just a multivitamin, the New York Times has showed you the date on this. Right. When you take a multivitamin, you usually live about 1.5 years shorter. Everybody taking them thinks they're going to be longer. But when you take something daily, if it's water soluble, excess, your kidneys throw it out. But A, D, E, and K, they ain't fat soluble. And then you're taking these minerals and all these things. And your dad is a holistic dentist. And then the other thing about that, the marketing of it, there are so many consumers that share the dentist view that they don't believe in the healthcare system. I mean, if you go to the healthcare system, it goes back to the medicine man. They just want to make you a lotion and potion pharmacy pill or cut something off. They're like, well, I want to remove your tonsils or do a bypass or give you a pill.
Yeah, my favorite was the Mel Brooks skit, where it's like, your arm hurts, and then they whack you in the head. Does your arm hurt anymore?
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, he was great. Oh my God, Mel Brooks was the best.
Yeah.
So your dad is, I wish all the older dentists would not go crazy when they hear the word holistic and alternative. Yeah. And I think people like your dad are pioneers, and I want to podcast them. And dentists always know what they know. They don't know what they don't know. And I've said it a million times. I read the first dentist book, Pierre Fauchard. That was 200 years ago in Paris, France. He was the first dentist. And then the father of American dentistry is G.V. Black, and I bought his 3 books, autographed and signed by him, and read that. And if you ever read The Father of Modern Dentistry in America from 100 years ago, completely wow. I mean, he was the smartest guy we had. It wasn't that most of what he truly believed is wrong. So then you got to ask yourself, in 2017, what is it going to look like in 2117? 2217. 100 years from now, what percent of everything we hold dear is going to look like the Flintstones cuckoo?
Right. Most of it?
I would think so.
I mean, technology is not slowing down.
Yeah, it's going faster.
Yeah, and he is he teaches at Eastman in Rochester.
Yeah.
So he'd be a really good person to interview. He is one of the most genuine people I know. He just wrote a book about his journey to healing. So he is.
He wrote a book
called Journey to Mudry.
And what percent of that is dental journey?
It defines most of his life. I mean, I'm in there. I have not.
Is the book on Amazon?
It is on Amazon.
Well, pull it up, babe.
All right.
Email me the link, or you can pull it up right there online.
He's worked on the book his entire life. So it's not like one of these authors that like pump out a bunch of books. This is it for him.
That was a dig on me. I know it was. I wrote the business of dentistry, the consumer's roadmap, uncomplicated business. Now each book, I said I have 4 children and I have 3 books, and each one of them is like having a baby. I mean, it's a 9-month, year-long process. I mean, my God. Every time one of my staff is like, you should write another book about this. Like, no. Journey to Mudry. So what is M-U-D-R-Y-I? What is Mudry? Is that a city, a religion?
It's one of those titles where you don't really find out what Mudry is until you're at the end of the book.
Okay, so you don't want to give away the deal. Okay, so you tell your father, I am going to push this out on...
Who knows? You might be in it.
I might be in it.
You'll have to read it to find out.
Our friend, Ryan. Do you give out your email?
Yeah, it's admin@darkhorsetech.com. We support every single system, so if you need help in any dental environment, we are... we do a high quality customer service. We have a great reputation, and everyone at Dental Town and Dr. Farran's office can vouch for us.
And now see if your dad's on for me on Google Image.
Oh, yeah.
And don't ever Google image my name, because there's so many pictures of me on the internet back from my Chippendale days, danced on the poles.
Wow.
Email me that and a picture, a JPEG of his book, and then I'll push out his book. Because I think one of the most important things people should do on all their websites is, you see a name like Howard Farran, you don't know who he is or anything, but if you just have a little YouTube video and says, hey, I'd really like you to come to my office, they get to see, oh, there's a human. And you meet all these people like you who just great chemistry, great karma, great energy, and I just think that you'd just do so much more business if they got to see that chemistry.
I'm going to take your advice. I'm a technician, so the whole marketing, sales side of it, that's all new to us. We're just trying to.
Most dentists on their website, it looks like that they have a still picture. It looks like their mugshot when they got a DUI.
I had one doctor,
and then you meet that guy in person. He's got a magnificent personality.
Yeah, you're right, because it's a static versus dynamic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a cool dude. You should have a video on there, and
thank you.
And you should say, and you should have your dad in the video.
That'd be funny.
And say,
he'd love to.
And one of the reasons I've always been in dentistry is because see this crazy guy behind me? He's a dentist, and he's my dad.
He took a chance on me.
Yeah. More
than one way, I guess.
That'd be insert, because see, they'll never part with your money until you make them feel something. See, the way with humans, the Nobel Econ people have been proving this with drawing blood, measuring dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. Why do people like roller coasters? Because they feel something. Why do people snack? They feel something. Why do they like scary movies? Why do they like running? Everything at the end of the day, that human wants to feel something. And when you go to a website, or you tell them they have 2 cavities, if they don't feel anything, they're not going to part with their money.
Right.
And so if they go to your website, they should see you. And then if you said something funny with your dad and he laughed, he felt something. Yeah. And when he laughed, he felt something. So he secreted dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and he picked up the number and he called you. Yeah. So you're not. And so what's Dennis' response to that? Mm-hmm. Arrogant, talk down, condescending. Well, of course you have a toothache. I told you, Reuben, 3 years ago you had a cavity.
Yeah. Right.
And here
did you come in and get it done? Of paper.
Yeah. Did you get it done? Yeah. Well, no. So now I'm shaming you. I'm making you feel bad. They are afraid to bring in their babies with cavities because they're a mom and they're like, I'm in charge of this 2-year-old. It's got 6 cavities, and then everybody makes them feel bad. And if you want to shame people and make them feel bad, that's it's fine. If you own a business, you should try to make them feel good.
Right, and control your stress level.
Hey, thanks for coming over to the house.
Yeah, thanks so much, Howard.
Thanks for working on team. Thanks for answering that question on my Dental Town magazine and my Howard Speaks.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All right, buddy. Have a rockin' hot day.
You too.